But you can see I'm capturing absolutely everything that all these regulatory bodies put out. Some of you may know me because of the weekly edition I put out, which is the Regulatory Roundup. So and you'll see at the bottom, it's always powered by Hoodin. So I'm just going to go through an example of how I use Hoodin to get the information for my Regulatory Roundup. So, of course, in order to do this, we have to start with Hoodin. And I have to log into Hoodin. So there we go. I like to take the high risk route, so you'll see that everything's live.
Yeah.
So,
this is like a magician on revealing the magic trick of regulatory roundup. So
right. So you see, I have a few sort of generic type products, and I go to my product, and I have all these wonderful modules because I'm a bit of a geek and I like to play around with stuff. But I have a couple of modules here which I'm using for the Roundup every week, which is the Regulatory Roundup Standards and the Regulatory Roundup Regulations. And you can see that whenever I log in, I get an immediate update here on this screen of what's going on. So I can see if something's changed. Usually with standards, very little changes because standards don't come out very often. But regulations, the regulatory bodies have to keep themselves busy so they can keep charging people for registration of their products. So they change quite often. So if I just go into this is where it doesn't work. Should do.
I think you have to click on the name.
Oh yeah, there we go. Right. So first of all, we should actually look at where I'm getting all this information from. So we can look at the sources of the information I'm getting. And we see that I have quite a few pages of regulatory bodies. EMA, there's Australia there, there's the Egyptian Drug Authority. Basically, as many as I could possibly tick in Hoodin, we have here. And when I identify a regulatory body that I'm interested in, and I can't find it in Hoodin, then I call Marcus and say, I can't find this regulatory body, please add it. So yes. Basically we have these modules set up. And then we get our readout every day or every moment. When you first set up, you may have to wait a little while for this to be populated. But you can see I'm capturing absolutely everything that all these regulatory bodies put out. So there's a lot of stuff that I'm not interested in. So I have a very simple approach. I can say, first of all, I can say, well, I'm not interested in all the news from last week. So we'll sort of start from last Friday. And so I'm only interested in the news from last Friday. And now I'm like, well, I've still got lots of information in there that I'm not particularly, may or may not. I mean, if I've really got time on my hands, I can just scan through. But I can say, well, I'm interested in anything that's like got regulation or something in it. Or I'm interested in news from the European Medicines Agency. And I see that I get a very specific search coming up from the EMA on various information that's available from them. If I go back a bit in my date line, maybe to the beginning of the month, you'll see it expands out. I'm still getting my search from the EMA, but I'm getting more information. So I use this information to then populate the regulatory roundup. So if I then go and say, well, the environmental policy, why have I got two filters there? Oh, well, this is okay. So there's been some news this week. So if I'm looking for reports, I can look up various reports, and then I get all the reports relating to various drug products. I even get information related to veterinary products, all that information. And I'm interested in regulatory updates. So let's go back to just the EMA and see what I'm getting. Not quite finding what I'm looking for. MHRA. Okay, so here's a classical piece of news. I think I saw it go out yesterday, actually, and I can then click on it and I see that there's an article, and it takes me straight to this article, which is basically a case study where the MHRA are claiming that their timelines are lowering the risk. They're shortening timelines for the lowest risk clinical trials. So this I might put this out, I might repost this type of information on LinkedIn. I probably wouldn't put this in my regulatory roundup because it's not really regulatory. And if I go back to my regulatory page, I can see, look, I already have information on my IDMP information, which came out, and we can see I've already populated that from the information that I picked up from Hoodin yesterday or the day before. And so during the week, I build out this whole regulatory roundup, and then you'll get it in your on LinkedIn on a Monday at 1 p.m. And I usually put out a video version of it earlier because there's usually some updates that come in quite late. I'm expecting some updates from the EMA. They'll probably come out tomorrow or maybe very late tomorrow. So there's usually a change between the video version I put out and the final PDF that I put out on Monday. Yes, so that's basically how I use Hoodin for doing the regulatory update, and the things that Veronica explained, like being able to identify additional predicate devices, which we have to do under MDR, but it actually is very useful for any product managers out there if they're having to identify competitor products when you're at the very beginning of development. So this is really a tool, Hoodin's really a tool that you can apply over the whole product life cycle. It really doesn't matter. Oh, did I stop sharing?
Nope, you should still sharing.
I'm still there. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, there. So it's really a tool that you can use over the whole product life cycle, really from the very beginning right up to the point where you're going to take the product out of the market. Yeah? And it really captures all the information. It saves a lot of time. If you consider, I would have to go to my sources, and I'd be having to look through my sources. There, I've got 47 sources that I look at, and I'm going to have to go to each of them every day, and then I'm going to have to find a place on the website. And I can tell you the TGA is a classic for that. They put information out on one section of the website 1 month, and on another section another month. It's going to take me a long while to get all that information together. And this way I can go and get my coffee in the morning and I already have the information available. There you go.